Let's make sure we're correctly interpreting what Sankey is saying. He's basically saying if some schools can play and others can't, those who can are going to go ahead and play football.
That's it. And look, I mean, Commissioner Sankey and all these other commissioners will continue to say that they're going to try to just start this football season on time, and they're going to try to get their players back on campus if it makes sense for them sometime in the middle of July, so they'd have a 6-week time period to get ready for the season. That's the ideal. That is one of the plans that's being discussed. But one of the other plans that has been discussed and might be thrown out there is, hey, if it is a regional situation where it's safe to play for some commissioners and some conferences, then they may say, all right, we're going to try and go. I think at the end of the day, what we're talking about here is just for public universities in Power 5 conferences, it's over $4 billion at stake. They are going to try as hard as they can to try and play football. And people say, well, the players aren't being paid and all of that. I get it. What we're talking about is the viability of these universities and the 35 other sports that make less combined than college football alone. This is a revenue that is important for these schools, and it's something as well that they need to have fans in the stands for. So however they can make that happen, even if it means playing themselves in some regions of the country, it's not out of the question.
Quickly, I want to make sure, because you've spoken to a lot of people, it's one thing to say the SEC can play, the Big Ten can't, so the SEC will, the Big Ten won't. The SEC is spread out over 11 states. The Big Ten is spread out over 11 states. We could be looking at a situation where some teams in a conference can't play. Do you see a scenario where the teams that can go on ahead even without the other schools in their same conference?
That's absolutely worst case scenario, Greeny. They do not want to go that route. It's already something that they'd like to see this unified across the country. If that's not possible, they really do not want to get to a point where they have an outlier state that has a school that's not able to compete. I would say that is very low on the list of probability.
All right, so Damian Woody, I'll come to you here. You went to Boston College. That's in a major metropolitan area. It's a completely different circumstance from that of a lot of the other schools that would be in the ACC right now. What do you think of all this?
Well, I mean, Green, the first thought that came to my mind is who has the best interest of the students in this particular case. Laura brought up the money aspect, which I think is playing huge. Talking about this is a multi-billion-dollar business, which is college football. Okay, everyone has a vested interest in getting college football back, from the NCAA to the schools to the coaches. But what about the students? What about the athletes? Is it safe to bring these guys back? Because if you don't have the students back in school, how do you justify having the athletes, back practicing and getting ready for a season? So who is working on behalf of the student athletes to make sure that they're in a very safe environment?
And listen, Marcus, as we sit here on a week where the NCAA is finally, for the first time, acknowledging name, image, and likeness, and every conversation we have, Laura's throwing out the number $4 billion, and that doesn't even encompass everyone. The notion that this isn't a business dies forever with this circumstance, yes?
Gee, foundationally where my mind goes. And let me say this too. To that question, to that answer that Laura said about being the worst case scenario, that some teams play and some teams don't within the conference. Guess what they're going to do if they can do that? They're going to play. And they're going to probably try to figure out a way to share some of that revenue with the teams that can't participate. Because look, this is about monetization. This is about making sure that colleges survive, making sure that athletic programs survive. So if there is any way, and I'll go back to when we first started talking about this, to get this done, whether it's 11 of the 14 SEC schools or 9 of the schools of 12 in whatever conference, they are going to play if that is all possible, and probably share the revenue to monetize everybody else in that conference.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.